José, whenever you're ready, you can start.
Thank you, Carlos. Welcome to everybody. Thank you to everybody to connect today with this webinar. And thank you to Marianne and the IT to organize this webinar for the cooperation that we always keep. In the past, the British market was very important for our companies. Many of us go to this market the moment that the market in Spain was practically doesn't exist. But today the situation is quite different. Last year we connected to the grid 4,201 megawatt in floor installation and 459 megawatts in self-consumption. That means that last year the Spanish market was the biggest market in Europe, and probably will continue to be in many of the next years. The willingness of our government is to introduce the PV as the main technology in the ecological transition. Our target is to achieve 39 gigawatts of the governmental target in our national plan of energy and environment is to achieve 39 gigawatts of PV in 2030. But we consider that our market will be bigger than that, because independently of the project that the government wants to develop, the market is so attractive that for the first time, and this is an important milestone, this year we're connected to the grid already 1,450 megawatts with no any governmental intervention, not subsidies, not feeding, even no option. Our project that go directly to merchant or through our they use PPA to be financed. That is a very important milestone because it has no precedent of this time not in Europe and nor in the rest of the world. A so big market directly to go to merchant. Our forecast is that we finish the year with around 2 gigawatts of project connected to the grid, merchant, always merchant. That gives us the assurance that we will have an important market independently of the political change in the next decade. In this market is open for any company that can come from abroad. If they come, particularly they come with some added value. We like to that Spain will become a technological hub for PV, and then for us, all the particularly innovative aspects, new technological development are very welcome. Very welcome our market, all that help to our projects to be more competitive or to introduce new possibilities for the PV and the development. In our association, UNEF, we have 500 enterprises from very big utilities or of all the companies or the small technological companies or electricity installer. In our sector, give employee direct and indirectly already more of 60,000 people in Spain. And of course, you are welcome. The 20% of our members are not Spanish members, and that you are welcome to our association. I hope that this webinar that we organize today will be very useful, and you will have very good opportunities to cooperate with the Spanish companies or in the Spanish market to continue building, thanks to our sector, a better or more clean and with a cheaper electricity. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, José. Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes, we can
okay.
hear you, Marianne.
Yeah, we can hear you. Okay, yes. Well, thank you very much, José. It's really good to work with UNEF again. We've been in touch several times and we've organised missions to the UK when the UK market was growing as well in PV. So it's really good to pick this up again now and hopefully we'll be working again together soon. Thank you very much to UNEF and to José for hosting this with us this morning. So I'm Marianne Carlin, responsible for the energy sector here at the Department for International Trade, based at the British Embassy in Madrid. DIT, the Department for International Trade, support UK companies who want to do business in Spain and international markets through Spanish partnerships, and we help Spanish companies who want to establish their business in the UK. We cover a number of sectors and work closely with many of the major Spanish energy players who are established in the UK already. Several solar PV companies there that we've helped in the last few years, and to develop the business there over the years. Today, we have invited a small group of UK companies with expertise in areas which are of particular interest when integrated with solar PV. They are successfully operating in the UK and internationally. Some of them are already present in the Spanish market, but others are hoping to enter and develop their business here in collaboration with some of you who are attending the webinar today. So the UK has a number of experienced developers that can deliver projects at all scales with expertise in design and installation of off-grid systems, energy management systems, energy storage, and hydrogen technology. And in terms of hydrogen, there has been a recent announcement that we aim to generate 5 gigawatts of low carbon hydrogen production capacity by 2030. That's good news for the UK. Like Spain, the UK has a long-standing commitment to the increased use of renewable generation sources, and this, together with a very good regulatory environment, is driving our clean growth agenda and ambitious net zero targets. Thanks to the UK government incentives, our solar PV deployment by capacity is almost 14 gigawatts, and we hope this will increase considerably with continued government support for the industry. The British Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, last week set out an ambitious 10-point plan for a green industrial revolution covering clean energy, transport, nature, and innovative technologies, which will allow the UK to make significant progress in the fight against climate change by 2050, and which is particularly crucial in the run-up to the COP26 climate summit to be held in Glasgow at the end of next year. So these innovative technologies that I've mentioned before are the ones you'll be hearing about today from our 6 speakers. Yesterday, there was also good news for the solar PV sector, since UK Solar will be in the 4th round of the Contracts for Difference auction scheme. And this was announced yesterday. It will open in late 2021 and will aim to double the capacity of renewable energy compared to the last round and expand the number of technologies supported, including solar PV. As I say, this is very good news for the sector. And if you want any more information about this, please get in touch with me and we can give you a bit more. And on the back of that, we'll be organising another event next year, looking at the opportunities in the UK market. So plenty of the opportunities, as we say, as José said, in Spain, but also hopefully in the UK in the coming years. The objective for today is to really help UK companies to work together with Spanish companies and develop their business and take advantage of those big opportunities. So I really hope you find this webinar useful and you will engage with the UK companies who are presenting this morning. They're keen to discuss their technology with you in more depth and work alongside Spanish partners here in the UK and in international markets. So now I'm going to hand over to the speakers, to our panel speakers. As Carlos said, please write up the questions for the Q&A and which will take place after the presentations. So our first speaker today is Everoze. The speaker is Michele Lauritano. Michele is an electrical engineer and a senior consultant in Everoze. He's been there for 13 years. He's been 13 years experience in renewable energy and storage, and in particular in grid and electrical design projects. He has been active in the UK, where he has lived and worked for 8 years before moving to Madrid 2 years ago, where together with a colleague, they opened a local office of Everoze here in Madrid. So over to you, Michele.
Thanks, Marianne, for this introduction. I hope you can all hear me. Thanks for this opportunity to both UNEF and to the British Embassy in Madrid. And I'm very proud to present my company here. Everoze is a young company. We started in Bristol around 5 years ago, and we recently opened an office in Madrid at the beginning of last year. So I will present a bit who we are. Briefly, we are an employee-owned technical and commercial advisory company specializing in renewables, so solar, onshore and offshore wind in particular, and also flexibility sector, which for us started in UK in 2016 with storage. And also we developed other services related with flexibility, in particular demand response, support for electric vehicle, domestic flexibility. I will detail later. We have 5 main offices, 2 in the UK, 2 in France, and the one in Madrid, as I said. And this is us. This is quite an informal picture of our team in one of our last reunion when this was possible. In Everoze, as I said, we are proud to be employee-owned. So this is actually our shareholders. And actually, we are a bit more now. We are 10 more than that. And it is, we like also to do the things a bit differently inside the company. So we like to take direct approach in management and also in decision making on the strategy of the company. So we usually meet every year, if possible, to decide the strategy for the following year. Hopefully we can do this soon again. And these are just some sample project or cases that I want to briefly present to you. Both in 2 regions, let's say Spain and Portugal. So from the Madrid office, we try to cover both these countries, and also on the UK. So services that we have been developing and providing from there, and that actually we see already potentially some potential to bring this in Spain as well. So in Spain and Portugal, we are mainly dealing with technical advisory for solar PV at the moment, which means our clients are usually investors. They acquire a site, a large-scale site, and we support them in the first part of the acquisition with the technical due diligence services. And then, if acquisition is positive, we support them throughout the design and construction of a site, assessing both against contract, against regulation, against good practice, that the site is built at the good industry practice level. And the 2 photos are from 2 of the projects we have been working or are working. So the top one is the first subsidy-free solar PV plant built in Portugal, which was completed at the end of last year and is now operational. We have been working both as a technical due diligence and owner engineer. And the below is a substation. I cannot show you all the site because it's still confidential and it's in construction. It will be soon operational, hopefully, and it's in the south of Spain. And when I speak about technical due diligence, we try to assess several risks. One of the frequent risk nowadays is curtailment. Curtailment for renewable, it's something that no one wants, but of course, as José Donoso was saying, the plan of the government to install a lot of PV and a lot of wind as well in Spain is challenging, and curtailment at a certain point is expected. We think, I mean, a solution is there to tackle this. Potentially, there are several, but one could be represented by storage. And we think that in Spain, storage will be mainly brought in by this need, reduce renewable curtailment. And when I speak about storage, I introduce the services we already have live in the UK, and we have been, let's say, working in storage sector since the beginning of the era in UK, which is already 4 years ago. And you see on the top right, my colleague Nathan, who is in Essex at one of our battery storage scheme, one of the battery storage scheme of our clients, sorry, where we have been supporting the client in the testing of the battery storage to check that and to commission the site for providing grid support to the national grid there. In particular, we have been working with most of the scheme under EFR, FFR, all these strange abbreviations, which are all frequency grid support services. and as independent engineer and on the testing side. But we have done a lot of other services on storage in the UK. And the last small brief case study is something on flexibility, and it's actually quite interesting because it could be interesting for all of us, maybe in some time, and it's domestic flexibility. So it's domestic users, so all households basically, provide grid services. These services that it's Sustain H is a trial service that was launched by Western Power Distribution 2 weeks ago, and we supported them in designing and developing it through business partners, which are basically the suppliers. And the idea is very simple. Enable every domestic user who has basically a battery to provide a grid service and be remunerated for this. If you want to read more, this is published in our LinkedIn as a blog. So it's quite fresh news. And I just show a bit who are our main clients, are investors and lenders. Also, we work with developers and sometimes also asset management company and the EPC contractor. And these are our contacts if you want to get in touch. Thanks.
Excellent. I will take it from there. Thank you very much, Michele, and of course, thank you to the DIT and thank you to the UNEF for the opportunity to be part of this webinar. I'm representing Highview Power. Highview Power is a 16 years old energy company from the UK that we were born to create, to replicate pump hydro energy storage capabilities without the limitation of pump hydro. So in a nutshell, our customers name us as pump hydro in a box. As you know, UK, same way as Spain has plenty of hydro schemes and a little bit of more pump hydro in the United Kingdom. But the company, what Highview was doing in those years of development of the technology at the beginning, 15, 16 years ago, was taking a technology that was existing, that was liquefaction of air. That's a very normal process to separate components of air to create an energy storage application. So that again replicates the pump hydro or the hydroelectric capability. So 3 main topics: larger scale, long duration, and 100% renewable. So we're talking about 100% clean, 100% sustainable. And this picture here, I mean, is I'm sure that everybody is aware of where Spain is going. I mean, we are becoming the solar hub of Europe, I mean, due to the climate we have, and together with Portugal. And this is a picture of California. And so we are a UK company that we have big presence here in the United Kingdom. We have big presence in the States, in Washington, in California, in Chile, and we are present in Spain already. So we have our office in Madrid and an office in Santander. But talking about Madrid, Santander, Chile, California, very similar picture here. Storage is required to really integrate solar and integrate wind, but integrate renewables. And we need larger scale. We need long duration. We are talking here about a picture of really before 2026, California is expecting to need from 8 hours to 13 hours to be able to avoid the curtailment or really to avoid wasting the power generated with PV solar. So shifting clean energies, this is just the beginning. So we have been having as Highview Power 2 projects in the UK, 2 plants running for many years, a smaller scale, middle scale, so 15 megawatt hour, and now we are constructing the largest in the world with close to 300 megawatt hour. I will come to that. But if we look at long duration storage today, 2020, and well, 2021, 2022, what is available today? I start from the right. Compressed air, I mean, as you know, is compressing air, installing it, I mean, placing it in a cavern, and well, it's a wonderful technology. You need it back, you expand it, and you move an air turbine and a generator. So limited to geology, a lot of land survey, a long development. So if you find a place, great technology. In the center, pump hydro. Pump hydro today is 99% of the global gigawatt hour installed. So it's because lithium ion is being installed quite massively in these last 5 years. Early in megawatts, in gigawatts, pumped hydro is over 95%, but in gigawatt hour, meaning in duration of storage, is 99%. As you know, pumped hydro demands a big site-specific characteristics. You need the valley, you need the water, you need the height, you need a lot of civil construction, you need minimum 10 years of development. So you go to the left, Highview Power developed the cryogenic energy storage, liquid air. So it's a solution that takes the benefits of the two previous ones, pumped hydro and compressor, but what uses is tanks. So instead of having high pressure, it's just cooling down until it liquefies. So again, nitrogen, liquid oxygen, all blended. And when you need it back, you just blow the air back to a steam turbine and a generator. So today there is nothing more economical. But again, this technology is not occupying the space of pumped hydro, compressor, and is not really competing with shorter duration or domestic scale or up to 100 megawatt 1 hour schemes. This technology is occupying all the center. So we move from 4 hours onwards. So our sweet spot is getting bigger the more hours we go. So it's better. 6 hours is way better than 4. 8 hours is way better. 12 hours is way better. 20 hours, we can have weeks of storage. The thing is that the grid normally is really safe with 8 to 16 hours. And we go in bigger scale because our main partners are people like Siemens, like MAN, like Sumitomo, like General Electric. So component manufacturers, global presence, Spanish presence, that can be, every component can be sourced locally. How the process works, like any other battery, it has a charging station, a storage station, and a discharging station. The charging station is a liquefaction plant, like an air separation unit. Many we have in Spain, many we have in the UK. Storage are stainless steel tanks, and the discharge is a steam turbine that is using air, so no humidity, no difference of temperature, and a big generator. So, and we recycle the heat and the cold in the system. So it looks physically like an LNG terminal, but no combustion, no emissions. This is a picture of a 300 megawatt plant, 300 megawatt hour plant, so it's a 50 megawatt 6 hours. We have multiple plants in execution. We have already a plant in construction in Manchester. Marianne was mentioning the Prime Minister and the UK government launching last week the 10 points plan for green revolution in the United Kingdom. We were very honored that the Prime Minister mentioned Highview and mentioned our technology and mentioned this project that we broke the ground a couple of months ago in a large power station outside Manchester. You can see in the bottom that we have a local partner, which is Carlton Power. We have a global partner called TSK, I'm sure very familiar in Spain. So we have a partnership with the engineering EPC company from Asturias, TSK, and Sumitomo Heavy Industries, which is our lead investor into Highview Power. California, I mentioned, California is going already today, on 1st of December, there is closing a large tender process that they are seeking 500 megawatts, minimum 8 hours, maximum 16 hours. And we are talking only about community utilities. So the time of long duration, larger scale energy storage just started. So again, Highview Power have created a battery, an energy storage system that replicates pumped hydro and has all these advantages that does the job of a thermal station. So has dynamic inertia, so you have your generator rotating, you have your turbine rotating, you have your compressors rotating, you have a lot of mechanical inertia, you provide reactive power, and you provide all the services that gas or thermal would provide. And again, without water impact, zero emissions, and no hazardous materials. So I would say muchas gracias a todos. We have a team in Spain that will be really happy to go via UNEF and DIT to share the contact details. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Javier. I was on mute before, so I didn't have a chance to introduce you, and thank you to Michele too. So let's go on to the next speaker, is David Hill, Chief Commercial Officer at Open Energy, and he's responsible for Open Energy's vision and strategy globally. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Can can everyone see my screen?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, 1 second. Get this on. 1 second. Sorry, my fault. And here we go. Right, there we go. Right, thank you very much, everyone. So yeah, and just to repeat what my sort of fellow sort of other presenters have said, thank you so much for joining today, and thank you DTI and UNEF for inviting me to speak. So Open Energy, we are a energy storage optimization business, and we essentially exist for one purpose only, which is to maximize the value of all low carbon infrastructure by virtue of optimizing energy storage. And I say energy storage, not sort of battery storage, because we think all storage is very relevant to how we bring renewable power to sort of create a net zero economy at the sort of most efficient cost possible. We have about 120 megawatts of volume under our management currently, and that is split between lithium-ion storage and what we consider our more sort of original business, which was effectively a thermal storage optimization business, typically heating and commercial refrigeration optimization. We are present in 2 key geographies at the moment, both UK and Australia, but are really keen to sort of grow in Europe, and we see Spain as a key market for us, especially in the solar plus storage area. Within the context of our sort of products and services, we sort of focus, we again split the market into 2 key areas, which is grid scale battery storage or storage optimization, and sort of behind the meter or commercial industrial. Typically our customers in the grid scale, where the value proposition is revenue maximization, are sort of storage developers or independent power producers. And typically our customers in the behind the meter setting are power suppliers or very large energy users themselves. And there the value proposition is, you know, reducing the cost of power and carbon simultaneously. Okay, here we go. So a few just sort of high level views of what we see in the UK, which I just think are really interesting to share. COVID has given us a really interesting view into the future in terms of how future power systems will look. What we can see in the UK is that the demand reduction and the sort of renewable generation has given us a sort of artificial view of the percentage penetration of renewable energy. And what we've seen is something we expect to continue over the next, into the future, which is at a really high level, the price of power has come down on average because of the increased penetration of renewable, but the cost of balancing has increased. And therefore, for all participants in this market, energy storage is a absolute vital application to continue in this market as a natural hedge to power-based businesses or as a way of reducing the cost of balancing. Clearly, the 2 main drivers for us as a business that we see is the continual cost reduction of energy storage. On the left, we are looking at predominantly lithium ion here, which is the major sort of application of energy storage currently in most markets, but we are also a big believer of long duration storage as well. And on the right in the UK, what we see is the rapid growth of flexible energy capacity to compensate for the intermittency and instability of renewable energy. And we see that there's going to be a broad different types of technology, from batteries, energy storage, electric vehicles, demand response, and gas peaking plants. And what we believe at Open Energy is absolutely vital is all of these assets will require automated optimization, because at an individual level, or most of these assets are going to be traditionally a lot smaller than gas CCGTs. And therefore we will require software to optimize these assets and not humans. So a little bit about our technology. We are a cloud-based software system that effectively connects assets to energy markets. We use a lot of principles of machine learning to automate these processes. On the left, we have what we would consider markets. So all the different types of markets that energy storage can operate in, whether that is a grid service, primary reserve or frequency response, whether that is wholesale markets, whether that is network charging avoidance or solar optimization. And on the right, we have what we would consider the physical characteristics of the assets, whether that's storage duration, warranties and sort of degradation of energy storage, site import-export limits, on-site generation. And we take all of that information into our optimization engine, and we optimize over multiple timeframes. So we start off perhaps a month ahead, week ahead, day ahead, and then within day, and we iterate our optimization profile every 5 minutes to make sure our customers are getting the best information to maximize value. Typically, the services we offer in these markets are based around these 5 different markets. Each market is different, but there is similarities across all key markets we see. The major driving force often for battery storage and storage applications is frequency response or primary reserve. We've developed our own internal state of charge management algorithms that increase lifespan of batteries by up to 20% by reducing throughput. We also offer route to market access for wholesale energy trading. For behind the meter customers, we help them avoid network charges to reduce demand at peak times. In the UK, we also bid into the capacity market. And I think increasingly we are using batteries to form either microgrid solutions for industrial commercial customers or to firm renewable patterns from solar and wind, but more recently solar. This here, before I get onto just a useful case study to show you how the technology works, I think this is a really interesting thing we've seen recently, which is in the UK market, this is a bit of a strange market called the balancing mechanism, but the thing I would take away here is that what we are increasingly seeing is not necessarily the price volatility of high prices that are sort of driving the value of energy storage. It's the increasing sort of frequency of really low prices. So I know there are market sort of regulations in Spain and Portugal that don't allow negative prices. However, the increasing frequency of really low prices driven by high participation of renewable energy is really what's driving the spread increase of trading battery storage. So if you're able to buy super cheap and then sell, it's not necessarily the high prices that are driving value, it's the consistency of low prices. So just to give you a bit of a sort of case study, because I think these things are useful if we show you sort of a real life example. Here is a site, a manufacturing site that we operate in the UK. You've got a 3 megawatt sort of rooftop solar deployment there on a large manufacturing site. And that small white box there is a 500 kilowatt 1 hour Tesla power pack system that we optimize. And the reason why I think this is an important case study to show is it shows the technology in full force, because one of the most important things we see in energy storage is whilst intuitively the main application for storage could be to stop solar curtailment and soak up excess renewable energy at certain times to sell at the peak. Reality is these assets are expensive, and continuous stacking optimization is absolutely valuable to drive the highest return on investment over the lifetime of the battery. And what we mean by that is trying to perform as many different services as possible. Now, this site is a manufacturing site that effectively the light blue line is their sort of demand profile, and the dark blue line is effectively what happens when we use the battery because it ends up in and the storage and the solar because it ends up in export. But what's important to see here is effectively we are providing frequency response the whole time, so all the way through the day. That's the reason for the quite volatile demand sort of profile that's going up and down. We're providing primary reserve to the national grid, the UK system operator, at all times. But another important consideration is we are trying to displace as much demand as possible in the evening peak, which is the purple part there. And to do that, we have to forecast the solar every single day because we want to charge up as much of the battery as possible from solar because that is the cheapest. But because the UK is not as sunny as Spain, we can't guarantee the sun will turn up. So we have to make sure we are charging in the nighttime just the right amount to top up with the solar to then displace it. And as you can understand, this is a constantly iterating optimization profile that is looking to maximize the arbitrage opportunity between grid power, solar power, and sort of taking the site offline whilst continuously providing frequency-based services. All of this is fully automated and enables us to provide this multi-service microgrid style solution. Our technology here has been proven to reduce this customer's bills by about 20 to 30%, increase the solar usage by anywhere between, around the similar levels, around 20 to 30%. And we're looking at a sort of full nationwide rollout of the same technology. Yeah, and if you have any questions, please get in touch.
Thank you very much, David. Okay, I'm going to move on now to hydrogen technology, and I'm going to introduce David Caine. He's a principal consultant with the low carbon energy transition team of ERM. He has been heavily involved in the ERM Dolphin hydrogen project since its inception and currently acts as a project manager. So over to you, David.
It's Marianne. Hi, everyone. So my name's David Caine. I work for ERM. ERM are a sustainability consultancy. We supported a number of low carbon projects around the world, including solar, PV, and offshore wind, all sorts of different low carbon renewable projects. We're a global company. We've got about 5,500 people worldwide, including offices in Spain, in Madrid and Barcelona. So my background is in oil and gas originally, but for the past 4 or 5 years, I've been working in the hydrogen sector. We've worked on a number of projects looking at the feasibility of converting the gas network in the UK from natural gas to hydrogen. We've also worked on projects looking at production of hydrogen from natural gas, which is blue hydrogen. We've looked at the potential deployment options for hydrogen for end users, including things like trains and the conversion of the commercial sector in the UK, as well as looking at the role that hydrogen can play in bringing constrained assets to market. One of the projects that I wanted to pick up on today is the Dolphin project, which is looking at combining offshore floating wind technology with hydrogen production technology. And that's the Dolphin project. And we're working on that project at the moment. We've been working for the past 18 months with the support of the UK government through the Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. And we're working on the project with a number of the companies that you see up there in various guises. So like I say, the project is focused on what role hydrogen could have when combined with offshore floating wind technology. So it's looking at very large scale productions, sort of multi-gigawatt. And about 18 months ago, we started looking through the different cases for producing hydrogen and what that might look like. So to that end, we considered these cases here. The first one is looking at combining the hydrogen production technology with the floating wind units themselves. So it's an integrated modular approach. All of the equipment needed to produce hydrogen is co-located on the floating unit itself, and that's the technology that we selected in the end. And we looked at a number of different floating substructure types for that project. Hydrogen produced here is gathered in an interfield piping array and then piped back to shore using pipelines. Second case that we looked at was a floating wind farm with centralized hydrogen production. So that's a central floating vessel with all of the equipment required to produce hydrogen located in the middle of the field, and then hydrogen supplied back to shore through pipeline. And the third case that we looked at was power produced offshore from floating wind, power supplied back to shore through electrical cabling, and then all of the hydrogen production equipment located onshore. So they're the three cases that we looked at for using floating offshore wind to produce hydrogen. And the results that came out of that were quite interesting. So the scale that we looked at was 10 megawatt production units in a 4 gigawatt array. So like I say, very large scale, very much looking forward to that kind of 2050 type scenario of zero carbon. You know, what role could hydrogen and this technology play in the future? And the results from that were really encouraging. So the modular unit, which is the one that we selected, gives the lowest cost of production of hydrogen of around the sort of £2 a kilo mark, which is good. It's a low price. It's really exciting. That's the kind of prices where you can start to talk about hydrogen competing with natural gas through the main gas network. And the like I say, that typology, the modular approach to combining hydrogen production with wind production was the cheapest option that we looked at. And there's a range of reasons for that, which I won't go into at the moment. So to say a little bit more about the unit itself that we've selected. So this is the design that we selected and we've taken forward. We're now currently in FEED, so we're going through engineering design of a 2 megawatt scale unit, which will be located in the North Sea, just off the coast of Aberdeen, is where we're looking at locating. And for that unit, the seawater is taken in, it's desalinated, it's purified, and then fed into an electrolyzer unit. We've got a wind turbine generator which is turning and supplying power to the electrolyzer, and then out of that we have hydrogen being produced, very high purity hydrogen, which is taken to a buffer storage tank before export through flexible riser and then pipeline. So it's kind of combining some offshore oil and gas technology with offshore renewable technology, as well as a little bit of innovation in there as well to bring the whole thing together. The unit is completely off grid, so to be able to operate, it needs all of the backup power systems, emergency power systems, and grid balancing systems that are needed to operate this kind of system in an off-grid environment. With the first couple of units that we're looking at bringing on, like I said before, the starting point for the project was to look ahead to that 2050 kind of time frame and say, what role could hydrogen have in the future? And we've satisfied ourselves that hydrogen can have a good role alongside other low carbon technologies. And I think the UK government, other governments across Europe have also identified the potential that hydrogen can have, and I think that's reflected in the kind of policies that are going on. I think the areas where this technology is developing best are the ones where there's a good public-private type relationship, and I think that's part of the success that we're seeing in the UK. And I think really the most interesting projects now are those first projects. What can we do in the 2020s when there isn't a international hydrogen market that's mature yet? To start with, you're possibly not going to be looking at supplying hydrogen directly into the gas network. But when you bring hydrogen onshore, then there's a number of different end users that can start to use hydrogen as early adopters, things like fuel for transport, marine and port infrastructure, as well as commercial applications. And some of those, the cost of hydrogen doesn't need to be as low to be competitive in those markets. So there are ways of getting early projects that are, they're looking ahead to a 2050 scenario where you might be supplying hydrogen into a gas network, but the early projects in the 2020s still have a route forward of supplying into other markets in the early stages. So that's a whistle-stop tour of the project, just to give a bit of an insight. And if people are interested in the Dolphin project more, there's some contact details up there. And I look forward to joining in the panel discussion later on.
Thank you very much, David. Okay, well now we're sort of running out of time. I'm going to pass on to Moixa very quickly, Kiel Dolance. He currently works as Head of Growth for Moixa Technologies, responsible for business development and client management across the 3 continents. So over to you, Kyle. Kyle, sorry, not Kiel, Kyle.
Thank you very much. I think the easiest and hardest part of our jobs is talking about our passions in 5 minutes or less. So I will try and hurry through this. My name is Kyle. I represent Moixa. We have a platform called GridShare, and why that's important to this group. It's the combination of solar in partnership with storage and electric vehicles. We started making our own batteries, so we're deeply familiar with chemistry and physics and limitations of batteries in the market, and we've moved into kind of a very deep machine learning software platform where we have large international partners across a couple continents now, to maximize the return on investment for their products, such as electric vehicles, electric vehicle charging equipment, and energy storage, primarily behind the meter in residential settings. The GridShare platform, the USP for us is the deep AI that we've developed over the past few years, and I'll get into that briefly in a moment. Controls across a hardware agnostic range of assets, aggregates those, and we have a few commercial contracts where we're actually providing those services from an aggregated domestic fleet into energy markets here in the UK as well as Ireland. So first, I think we're scalable. It's very, very difficult to coordinate fleets of megawatts of assets, let alone when they are spread across tens of thousands of homes. We've got almost 25,000 in Japan at the moment. We're hoping to crack that before the end of the year. It looks like we're on track there. And also we've partnered with Honda to help deliver their energy business across Europe. So again, we're UK, Ireland, and Japan, a couple trials in Germany, the US, and Canada, and looking at the Spanish market to bring our software with our hardware partners into that space sooner than later. You know, starting at the top, you know, we want to make sure that things get in correctly. So we've developed an install app that makes sure that we're reducing the amount of truck rolls back to homes that are moving into the solar space, getting electric vehicle equipment installed, getting batteries paired with their solar systems. We know the pain that it causes to sell a system and then 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years later have to go back because something wasn't put in correctly and you found out kind of after the fact. So we start there, you know, right from the very beginning, from day one, making sure that products are going in correctly. After the products are in, we've got the necessary tools to aggregate those assets, make sure they're working as efficiently as possible, identifying any issues with individual systems, and then being able to aggregate those assets and move them into various power markets. We do this by going all the way to the edge and maximizing asset by asset performance. A lot of people can get excited about having megawatts and gigawatts on the platform. We're excited about having tens of thousands and eventually hundreds of thousands and millions of assets on the platform, and making sure that we're making the right decision for every one of those assets every single time. So we don't want to flex a battery into a market, curtail solar for whatever reason, and have that be a negative impact on that individual asset owner just because it's, you know, more beneficial for the grid in that very small amount of time. This is us just kind of predicting on a very individual level. I'll skip over this. You can see here that, you know, predicting generation with behavior is key to our success. If we can squeeze out a few extra kilowatt hours a week on every single battery across tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of batteries, that stacks up to millions and millions of dollars of savings and more flexibility for our energy supplier and utility partners in the market. So on this screen, you can see that, you know, the yellow line is where we're predicting solar. The blue line is where we're predicting behavior with our machine learning algorithm. And we're matching the charge and discharge of the battery based on those predictions. And the longer we go with an individual household, the better and better we get at predicting behavior. Not quite at 100% yet. When we hit 100%, we can all quit because the computers will be running everything, but we're getting pretty close. And here you can see in Japan, if we look across a fleet, this is in yen. Apologies, I didn't convert it before the meeting. You can see in the green line what the energy bill would be without a battery paired with solar on site. The orange line is with a battery that does kind of your basic balancing and time of use optimization. And then that blue line is what the bill actually ended up being because of GridShare's machine learning algorithm that was added on top of it. So you can see that we're increasing savings by about 14% in the fleet of tens of thousands of systems in Japan. And that's what brings the return on investment kind of into that ideal less than 10-year range, when you can start bringing that that savings to the forefront and making sure that these large investments that homeowners are making are actually seeing a benefit within the lifetime of the warranty. This is just an example of us flexing assets, EVs, and batteries at the same time for a network operator here in London. Our platform enables very complex partnerships to happen. This is what we're doing in the UK and Germany. We've partnered with a ton of very big players, as you can see by this slide, and it allows very complicated relationships to move from kind of idea to actual practice. This is us operating chargers for Honda across UK as well as Germany in partnership with the likes of Octopus, Centrica, and Vattenfall, as well as the actual manufacturers of the products. And then we're building the platform for the future. So this is an example of what we're doing with UPS here in London. You can see that this is a site here that they have. There's on-site generation, there's second life storage, there's a plethora of different electric vehicle charging equipment, there's private wires, there's public wires, there's flexibility revenue on the market. It's something that we're really proud of, in that we're taking all of our very deep asset knowledge that we've built over the past few years, and we're now applying it to very, very complicated individual commercial sites where fleet managers are looking to electrify their diesel vehicles and maximize a return on investment. And just last but not least, to show that we've been at this for a really, really long time, we've been in the energy management and machine learning optimization game for a long time. We have a lot of patents dating back to 2007, 2008. This is something that we're obviously very passionate about. We've been around for a long time, so for a startup to have 12 or 13 years under their belts with big Japanese investors, I think it just signals that we're going to be around for a really long time, and looking forward to hearing a little bit more about the Spanish market and how we can help some of the folks on the call. And here's my contact info. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Carl, for whizzing through that one. Quickly pass on to Tadgh Cullen. He's the energy storage manager at SolarCentury. Tadgh, can you kick off, please, as you can? And if you can keep to 5 minutes, that would be great.
No worries, no worries.
Time for questions at the end.
Perfect. Thank you for the introduction. I think the content has been very varied and interesting so far. So first of all, I will fly through a few slides about SolarCentury. So we've worked in PV for over 22 years. We've deployed 1.3 gigawatts of PV with a 6 gig pipeline and an EBITDA for the last financial year of 23.6 million. We've evolved to manage each stage of a project, from the development, EPC, origination, financing, and asset management stages. We have completed a number of flagship projects in our 22 years, with two of the largest systems in Spain, Taluela Solar, a 300 megawatt project, and La Cabrera, a 200 megawatt project. Two very different hybrid systems in Eritrea and Mombasa Airport, where we utilize a mixture of energy storage and solar PV to either form or maintain an electricity grid. So Spain is one of our strongest performing countries with a pipeline of 1.7 gigawatt peak. But there is a problem in Spain, a problem that's been highlighted by many of the speakers previous to this. There is currently a very strong corporate PPA market that by design does not incentivize flexibility. A proposed new CFD structure that will aim to build more than 3 gig per year for the next 5 years at least, but no incentives to manage the volatility that will increase due to the significantly increasing renewable energy penetration. Renewables will put historical fossil fuel generation out of business, and that reduces the ancillary services pool that Red Electrica can currently call for free. So this leads nicely into looking at what makes storage work. So ultimately, three things. We have investor confidence, energy market volatility, and an effective single buyer market. A single buyer market is a model such as balancing services or capacity markets that allows us to sell to a single buyer, in our case, the TSO. It's a model that shields financiers from market risk, reducing financing costs, which is critical to making a viable energy storage system work, and effectively making an investment commercially bankable. So let's look at what some countries have put in place to incentivize flexibility. So starting at our headquarter country, GB, GB is seeing massive volatility and constantly increasing negative pricing periods. There is a consultation process out for a CFD that will exclude negative pricing periods. So there is substantial risk for PV developments into the future. On top of this, there is significant revenue available in short-term ancillary services contracts. We're currently looking at a portfolio of co-located PV and storage projects in the UK, with us hoping that the first will be built next year. And how we're making those work is by bringing in a floor price PPA to allow us first and foremost to bring in some really cheap debt into the project, then using some really reliable forecasts, or as reliable as they can be, to basically bring some equity into the project, and by putting some pressure on the manufacturers to drive the battery prices down, something that's already happening fairly significantly worldwide. Ireland, which is where I'm speaking to you from, and it's currently 2 degrees in Baltic here, we have given a 6-year contract to provide supercharged frequency control, and effectively is designed in a way that only batteries can partake. This gives an investment the security we have previously spoken about. Italy are piloting a new reserve market and offer a 3 to 4 year contract. Interestingly, they only require a 1,000 hour per year availability, so it's almost acting as a leverage to bring debt into a project. The Netherlands and other European countries such as Austria, Belgium, France, Switzerland, and some German regions all take part in a pay-as-cleared daily auction for frequency response. The advantage of this is it's a large market, so unlikely to saturate as quickly as a single market would. And also, as it's a pay-as-cleared auction, it means the opportunity cost of fossil fuel generation will keep the clearing prices artificially high until a mass rollout of energy storage is seen. The downside is it's a daily market, so the revenue risk is substantial and difficult to forecast. Spain has a great future for energy storage, in my opinion, and is already a world leader in solar PV and will continue to cement that world leader status over the next couple of years. It's only a matter of time before we start seeing massively volatile prices that will incentivize energy storage through either market volatility or incentivize effective single buyer market designs. It's likely there will come a point without incentivization where the inertia is no longer adequate to maintain system stability. And while this is while this will naturally drive investment into energy storage, it's very difficult to predict when this will happen, and it may be too late. So that was my quick whiz through the slides. Thank you very much, and my contact details will be sent out after the conference. Thank you.
Great, Tadgh. That was really interesting, and I'm sure there'll be lots of questions, if not now, later on in the next few days. Quickly pass over to Carlos for the questions and see what we've got.
Thank you very much, Marianne. We've got a few questions from the attendees. I will be asking them to every single one of you. The first one, Marianne, says, you said that there will be some auctions in the UK in 2021. Where can we find more information about it?
Okay, well, that came out in the last few days and it's been announced. So I think the best thing is for you to get in touch with me. For the person who's asked that question, to get in touch with me directly. I'm gonna, the slide at the end has my contact details. So very happy to provide more information to the person who asked the question and to everybody else. There'll be a lot of information coming up shortly about that, so very happy to provide it.
Thank you very much, Marianne. The next one is for Michele. It says, how do you see the development of the storage sector in the UK? Could it develop as fast in Spain, and when?
Yeah, I think in the development in UK has been quite fast. I mean, we have now more than 1 gigawatt operational, and we have a development pipeline of probably around 10 gigawatt by 2030. The reason why all this has been developed, the main market driver, as I think also David and Kyle were saying, has been mainly on frequency and inertia topic, which have provided a very good remuneration. And I agree with Tadgh that in Spain, probably, it's a bit more difficult to make forecast, but probably curtailment of renewable will be the main driver. And again, it's not sure when storage market will kick off, but probably quite soon, or as soon as the deployment of renewable, which is quite big at the moment, will start issue like curtailment, and probably later on also inertia issues. Okay, but let's say deployment as soon as the regulatory part will be fixed will be pretty fast, because it's a technology that is quite mature now.
Thank you very much, Michele. We've got another question. This one is for Javier Cavada. Are you planning on developing liquid air storage systems in Spain?
Thank you, Carlos, and thank you for the question. So the answer is a clear yes. I mean, see, we're already pretty active in Spain. So we have an office in Madrid, as said, an office in Santander, and we're working on factual projects, all related following what Michele was commenting. So I mean, technology is quite mature and demands a regulatory environment that you can really be paid for the services you provide. So we are, as Highview, we're talking with Red Eléctrica in a constant manner, with the MITECO, with the Ministry of Ecological Transition, and with the different provinces or comunidades autónomas. So we are working heavily with Canary Islands on a wind plus our system, and we're working on solar deployments on Castilla y León plus our energy storage, always looking at 6 hours onwards to make solar baseload in a way, 24/7.
Thank you very much, Javier. We've got 3 more questions, and the last one is for us, for UNEF. The first one for David Hill. It says, we would like to know if you offer your services outside the UK already, for example, Spain and Portugal.
Thanks for the question. So currently, the only other country which we have a major rollout in is in the Australian market. We have recently deployed over 100 sort of installations of behind-the-meter battery storage solutions there. We are currently evaluating projects in Europe, actually predominantly in relation to what Tadgh sort of was looking into, the markets which have more openness in terms of sort of frequency regulation capability. So looking into the Irish and German markets there. The Spain market, given just the sort of volume of solar, is a no-brainer, and we are sort of looking for partners such that when those markets do open up, we can rapidly deploy. But we have experience of sort of porting our sort of capability in different markets to new geographies. And the Australian one, for anyone interested, is about as complex as it gets. So.
Thank you very much, David. We've got 2 more questions from Javier Sanchez. The first one is for David Caine. The Spanish government announced an investment of 1,500 million euros for the development of green hydrogen until 2023. Are you planning to increase your presence in Spain?
Yeah, I think there's been some really exciting announcements recently around decarbonisation generally, but also around hydrogen. And for ERM, that's a key growth area across Europe. We already have offices in Spain, in Madrid and also Barcelona. So yeah, I think, without saying too much, I think you can sort of put the dots together there. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dave. And the last one is for Kyle, also from Javier Sanchez. It says, how does your technology help solar energy to compete with fossil fuel and nuclear energy?
Yeah, good question. We make sure that all solar is consumed as locally as possible and increases kind of that golden bucket approach to storage in electric vehicles. So by being able to pair solar with a time of use tariff, or even get a data point on carbon intensity of the grid, as governments move to get to net zero by 2030, 35, 40, 50, we are just a data company essentially, and we can identify when a car is plugged in, if solar can be exported directly from a panel locally on the home or close by. We can determine if there's cheap wind kicking up as well, and compare that to the carbon intensity of the grid in the area, and make sure that we're making the right decision to maximize the use of solar PV, and therefore kind of increase the return on investment for those PV panels.
Thank you very much, Kyle. And the last question is for us, it's for UNEF. It says, do you think that the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted into a bigger interest in renewable energy, and particularly into solar energy? Yeah, I mean, from UNEF, what we are seeing is a constantly growing interest in solar energy. I think it's mainly because of the solar resource we've got in the country more than the COVID-19 pandemic, but it could also have been affected by that, but it would be a really low I hope we have answered all of your questions, and I will head over to Marianne for your last words. Marianne, whenever you want.
So, thank you, Carlos. I think we can safely say that the innovative technologies mentioned in the Prime Minister's 10-point plan have been exemplified here today. So thanks very much to all the speakers. I think it's very interesting. I was just going to say a few words in Spanish to finish. Muchas gracias a UNEF por daros la oportunidad de participar hoy, tanto a DIT como a las empresas británicas. Estos eventos, por supuesto, organizamos para informar, pero también para que haya un follow-up entre las empresas participantes y la audiencia, sí, para llegar a futuras colaboraciones. Así que sí, mandaremos los slides de las empresas para que tengáis sus datos. Pero de todas formas, aquí hemos puesto el slide con nuestros datos de DIT de la oficina de Madrid, Marianne y el equipo de energía, que somos Marianne, Lisa y Javier. Entonces, cualquier otra pregunta, la pregunta que se me hizo al principio sobre más información sobre las futuras subastas, eso también lo vamos a abordar en un evento que organicemos otra vez con UNEF, espero, a principios del año que viene, y con la Asociación Solar Británica para contar con más detalle cómo van a desarrollarse estas subastas. Así que por mi parte, ya muchas gracias a todos y espero estar en contacto en el futuro. Thanks very much, everybody.
Muchas gracias, Marianne. Thank you very much for participating in this webinar. Thank you to all the speakers, and we'll see you in a future event. Thank you very much.